Hi guys, welcome. If you're new here, my name's Nikki. I'm a beekeeper and I make beekeeping videos. If that's something you like watching, hit the subscribe button. If you're one of my returning subscribers, thank you so much for coming back and hearing what I have to say. I really appreciate it. I was doing a hive inspection for one of my other series, and in that inspection I kind of discussed a couple of tips that helped me get through hive inspections during dearth. So I thought I would do a quick video and just go over what exactly dearth is and how you can recognize when you are in dearth in your area. So the definition of dearth literally is scarcity or lack of, and as it relates to beekeeping, that is a lack of nectar and lack of pollen. So when you enter into dearth, it's going to be a little different. It varies region to region. So I will link some resources down in the description below, which can kind of give you an idea when you can expect to experience dearth in your area. It does vary a little bit year to year, and it's dependent upon things like the weather, rain, humidity, and those type of things. Now, where the area of the country that I live in, we have two main nectar flows. We have a spring flow and a fall flow. And we have a lot of things blooming each of those times, but in the middle of that, typically in the summer, we have this period of what's called dearth, where there's not a lot in bloom and food sources for our bees become scarce. Now, for some of us older beekeepers, we kind of can tell when we're going to go into dearth based on what's blooming and when. But if you're new, it takes a couple years to really get into that and know when it's happening. But there are some signs that your bees give you and changes in their behavior which will let you know that they are in dearth. The first thing that I think I notice during dearth is that my bees get louder. They are physically louder. They kind of sound aggressive when you walk up to the hive or just even walk past the hive. And if you are a new beekeeper and you've been noticing throughout the season that your bees do orientation flights and kind of fly in front of the hive, they will do that during dearth, but there's a larger volume of them, and it almost seems like they're kind of swarming, and that's common during dearth. It can be a little alarming if you're a new beekeeper. Along with getting louder and kind of flying in front of the hive, I noticed that my bees get more defensive during dearth. So again, food sources for them become scarce, so they're really going to start to defend and protect the resources that they have in their hive. So you may notice that your previously gentle hive of honeybees now really doesn't want you in there doing inspections. And as I said, I put some tips in another video on things that you can do during your hive inspections, and I'll link that below as well, and you can check that out. I'll put a timestamp on there too, so you don't have to go through the whole video to find those tips. Another behavior they're going to have is they're going to fly pretty low. So during a good nectar flow, your bees are good at communicating to each other where those sources are. So when they leave the hive, they're usually leaving and going directly to that source of nectar or source of pollen. But when food becomes scarce, they're going to start really looking around for anything that they can, any type of sugar. So they're going to fly low to the ground, and they're going to fly slower and really be checking things out. And I just had a bee here a couple minutes ago that was just kind of flying around me really slow, checking me out, and I have some perfume on. I'm not out anywhere near my bees right now, but I do have like a floral scented perfume on, and so that kind of attracted her, I think. So you'll notice that as well during dearth, that your bees will kind of come up to you a little bit more, especially if you're wearing those type of products. Another thing you might notice is that they start looking for food in places that they'd never looked before. So you will typically notice your bees around trash cans, around dumpsters, any type of food or water that's been left out. They'll really start to come to those places to look for really any type of sugar that they can get. And again, there's still some nectar for them available, but it's not much. So when you see bees out on flowers, sometimes you'll see them visiting flowers that they never visited before. They passed over those flowers during a good nectar flow, but now they're going, kind of giving them a second look and checking them out. And sometimes if you watch close enough, you can see your bees go to a flower and they'll leave and come right back, just double checking to make sure they got anything that they could from that plant. They'll do that, or sometimes they'll bounce kind of back and forth between plant to plant. So if you see your bees doing that, that's a good indication that they're in dearth. and I have a bee back. So that's, again, another sign that you're in dearth when you've got bees kind of coming up and checking you out. And she didn't want to hurt me. She just wants to see if I have any food. One of the biggest risks to your bees and another behavior is robbing, and this could be between your bees or your bees and native bees, but again, they're looking for that honey, that nectar, that pollen, and so they will start to kind of rob each other. And a lot of times you're not going to see that happening at the time. But a clear-cut sign that your bees have experienced robbing is if you go out to your hive and you've got a lot of dead bees at the bottom of the hive or on the front entrance. That's a sign that there's some robbing going on. And there are some things that we can do to help our bees and decrease that robbing. One of the things I do is feed my bees. If you've watched my videos, you know I am a fan of feeding my bees. Again, as I said before, if you've already removed the honey you're going to harvest from your spring flow, feeding them during dearth is really not going to have a negative effect on them. If you have a lot of hives in one location, I would recommend doing like a community feeder, and I actually make my own. So I can do a video and show you how I make those. It's pretty cost effective. But community feeders are going to help your bees and help your native bees. A lot of times people will think if they put that feeder inside the hive, it's going to add an extra layer of protection from robbing, but it really doesn't, because bees outside of that hive can smell it and they know that it's there. So just putting it inside the hive sometimes is not going to be enough to stop them from robbing. The community feeders on the outside of the hive that they have to leave to go to really cuts down on competition, and again, it helps your native bees. So if food is scarce for our bees, then it's definitely scarce for the native bees, and by providing that source for your bees, you allow what's kind of left in the community to the bees, the wild bees, and they can also visit your feeders as well. So I would highly recommend that. After your spring flow, I would not extract anything during dearth. So after your spring honey flow, remove those frames or those supers that you want to extract, and do that prior to dearth. Now what I do is, we don't know year to year how bad our dearth is going to be. This one seems to be pretty mild, but we've had some that are really extreme and our bees really struggle. So I do a pretty modest extraction on my spring flow, and then even then I'll allocate some of that honey to possibly go back to the bees if I need to do that during the dearth period. And those are pretty much a couple things that you can do to help them. Oh, one last thing I would consider doing, depending on your weather, is possibly put an entrance reducer back on for your bees. So if you reduce that entrance, it's going to give the bees a little less space that they have to guard, and that's going to help with robbing as well. So this is just kind of my quick overview on what dearth is and some things that you can do to help your bees during dearth. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comment section below. Let me know what how your dearth is going this year and what you do to help your bees. I like to hear what different beekeepers do. If you found this video helpful, give it a like. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.